So I was listening to a podcast the other day, and they were interviewing a businessman who very successful, and he's written a best-selling book, and he was offering this advice that you should be able to leave your business for 4 weeks and it come back and it's better than ever. Well, he said he did this. He took his family, they went to London, and he came back and it was running better than ever. But there's a catch they don't tell us. We're about Get Business Savvy. And Get Business Savvy really is lead your company, live your passion. So in this podcast, we're going to expose what they don't tell us, but more importantly, we want to share with you the secret to business savvy and how you can start applying it to your business, your side hustle, your entrepreneurial dreams. Well, right after this podcast is over.
Yeah, George, and I want to start applying this, and it all sounds so great. But then you hear guys like this New York Times author, and you just question it. Like, naturally, it just doesn't sound like it's possible for me. It's kind of like those exercise channels where somebody can promise you a 6-pack of abs in 21 days if you follow their exercise protocol or whatever. But you know it's not that easy.
And I agree. That guy sounds great, except for the London part. I'd rather go to Tuscany. But aside from that, really, you got to wonder, how possible is that for most of us entrepreneurs?
Yeah, I know for me, it's not possible. And that actually sounds like worst case scenario. If I stepped away completely for 4 weeks, didn't answer anything, to me, it feels like I'd be digging my own grave. There would be just a mountain of things to do when I get back that I'm just never going to be able to catch up on.
Yeah, there's a trend going on podcasts, YouTube channels for businesses about entrepreneurs, business owners needing to hire people, expand their ability to do stuff, especially for solopreneurs.
Yeah, you mean like an editor or a social media marketing, a virtual assistant, something like that?
Yeah, exactly. So they're not full-time positions. They're like, you contract this out. And, we did a podcast a long time ago on a guy who's built his whole business hiring people from the Philippines. I think all this is a great idea. I think it's a great way to leverage yourself and leverage your time.
And George, then if it's such a great idea, why haven't you done it yet?
Yeah, well, they make it sound so easy. I'm scared. I really am. It's like, I'm scared they're going to mess stuff up. I honestly don't really know how to take some of the stuff apart that needs to happen. And like editing, yeah, that I get. But like the bookkeeping or like the social media is a really big area for me. And I need to bring someone in on emails and all that kind of stuff. It just feels like it's going to take more time to figure out how to make that happen than do it. It's reality for me.
Yeah, and that fear of the downside, because if you do get the wrong person, that leads to more work for you. Because not only do you have to catch the wrong work they did and tell them why they did it wrong, now you're going to have to be part of the process for making it right. And you have to train them and bring them on. And it is a ton of expenses. And then not to mention, if the person is good, there's a chance they have other offers. So you have to recruit them and you have to outcompete in the marketplace for people. It's not at all as easy as it sounds.
Well, and that's the catch, guys, right there, because they make it sound like, oh, look at my wonderful 6-pack, right? Look at my 4 weeks in London. Woohoo!
Look at my wonderful team. Look at all these great people I've hired. 100% success rate.
Right. Okay, so I have done a lot of hiring in my life. I've interviewed hundreds and hundreds of people, recruited, brought them on board. I've done it at multiple companies, and I have the same story at all of them. It's hard as hell. It's hard to get the right person in the right job. And then the ones that are really good, like you were just saying, AJ, you get them all trained up, you get them really going. You're going like, man, this guy's awesome. Well, I'm taking another job in 2 weeks. And you're like, oh my gosh, and, we've got budgets. We can't, it's like we can't meet that offer.
Yeah. And as you're talking about that hypothetical person, it's also getting them to the point where you're like, this guy is awesome. You're not going to think that about everybody on the team. There's going to naturally be a bell curve of people you think are awesome, a bunch of average performers, and a few people you need to put more work into. And I think the same even goes for like your partners. Is you have to, it takes time to cultivate relationships and to get into solid workflows with people where things are getting done efficiently and people are happy with the work they're doing, where they're not going to look elsewhere, like you were just talking about.
What I notice about all this kind of content, or, we're talking about hiring guys, but it's on all kinds of different things, is that there's a catch. And the catch is they don't tell you all the details. They don't tell you, like for this particular guy, he's been doing this 15 years. And before that, he had another 15 years in a whole nother line of work. So he's got 30 years of experience.
And 30 years of hard work. And now he gets to take a month off and everything goes great when he's on that month off. Right. But it's because he's done 30 years of hard work. And I wonder what his vacation calendar looked like prior to that.
Right. So we're about get business savvy, and get business savvy really is lead your company, live your passion. And it's meant like live the passion you have for starting your business. And oftentimes, if you've had any kind of success at all and your, revenue's growing, the business is doing well, and you're succeeding, you're starting to have business issues on the business side of the business. And over time, depending on the length of time you've been doing your business, you will discover those things pile up and they start taking you out of the love of why you started the business to begin with.
Yeah, because as an entrepreneur, you start thinking of all the possibilities and all the improvements you're going to bring to the world with your idea. And then all of a sudden, by bringing those improvements to the world, you've brought some baggage with you to your personal life and to your world that you might not want to deal with. But if you're leading with business savvy, you're going to find ways and strategies to minimize those things that you don't want to do so you can maximize living in your passions. And ideally, if you're leading with business savvy, you're going to have a successful business and you can start going to your focusing even on your non-monetizable passions like travel or something like that.
As you're saying all that, AJ, I'm remembering your start, and this was actually pre-revenue, where you got all tangled up in the legal stuff to get the permissions and the rights and all that kind of stuff. And you lost all kinds of not only time, but it pretty much wrung you out for, I'm not even sure I want to do this.
Exactly, because we want to bring a medical device to market. Our device was very simple. It doesn't put patients at risk. It's like, if you can do the motion, you can do the motion. I thought of it as just a simple exercise device. And then all of a sudden you start seeing, oh, there's a whole pathway. There's a runway to get medical devices to market. And it's not this simple, just, hey, if you have a shoulder issue and you think this will help with your mobility, this is going to help you. Try it out. It's not that simple. There's a whole runway. And yeah, you're right. I got lost in all the details that were on that runway.
So with business savvy, think of it like this, guys. You need to be leading your business. We'll talk about that. But you can measure where you are on this scale with your passion. So like what happens in the life start of a company is it's 100% passion, and that's what gets you started. Okay. And then you start having that success I'm talking about. And so maybe the passion comes down to like 90%, okay, or 80%. And where are you? Or you could look at it in terms of time. Like I spend 90% of my day in the passion, launching this thing. I'm excited about it. I'm doing what I love. And if you're doing like 50% of what you love and then 50% of all the other stuff, guys, that's what you're in the danger zone at that point, because it's going to take you out. You lose your passion and you lose the gas in the tank to keep on doing what you love.
Yeah. And I think the importance of that in what you were saying is leadership. And it's, where are you leading yourself? Are you leading yourself into doing all these details you don't like to do? Or are you leading yourself more into your passions? And there's also this gray area, I think, as you're talking about this, George. It's like, if you're leading yourself, you might only have to, look at the numbers for a couple hours a week, and then you're leading your team to maximize your profits and manage your finances and your books and everything. And it actually might be rewarding, and you might start to not love, it might not be your passion, but you like leading the team. You like being like, oh, hey, I know what's going on with finance. I never thought I would know that, but now I'm leading the finance team pretty effectively here.
Yeah. So back up. You make a really good point, AJ. But as you're saying all of that, I'm thinking, where are you leading them? So let's go back to that guy I was talking about at the very beginning of the podcast. His vision for his company, he actually said this, is to build $100 million revenue company. Okay. I don't know, but my experience is hiring people to help me become a billionaire or 100 millionaire. It's not real motivating to other people.
Yeah.
And what I do know about people, me included, AJ, you're included in this, we want to be a part of something larger than ourselves. And you have to have direction. And guys, money is not a direction, it's a metric. Yeah. It's like saying, I'm going to go 1,000 miles. Okay.
Where?
I'm going to build $100 million company. I had to go, where? Why? What's the direction? In other words, what did you see as an entrepreneur that needed changing? You brought something to this, and that's the direction where you're going. In other words, I'm not saying it's wrong to desire to build $100 million company. It's not my desire, but it's his desire. But that's just telling him where he is in relation to. So if he's got a $10 million company today, then that's just one of the metrics that says, okay, you're 1/10 of the way there. Okay, nothing wrong with that. But it's not direction.
And it's not passion either. And it's not why you get into business. You don't get into business to see $100 million on the income statement. Like for our medical device, we wanted to help people stop re-injuring their shoulders after a surgery. We wanted them to go through the rehab process and stay recovered, which is something that people still struggle with significantly. And we want to make an impact on those people. And that's what really, is rewarding to you. That's what makes you feel good. It's not, oh, yes, I know there's $100 million on that line and there's going to be $105 million on that line next year. That's not very passionate to me.
Well, and then as you got into the marketplace more, AJ, I recall like you were starting to see what the kinds of rehab procedures were out there in greater detail, and you wanted to impact the industry. You want to get, hey, we could change a lot of things. And here's the point, guys. That's vision. It's long-term. It's way out there, but it's direction.
And this is why your book resonated so much with me, because it is starting with that vision and direction, and starting with finding the truest version of yourself and your passions, and really drawing that out before you go down the path of, I just want to chase $1 million, whichever way I can get it.
Yeah. So he's referring to the next level entrepreneur. And it starts with focus your passions, map your directions, build a great company. And we start with, everyone knows their passions, but the key is you want to focus those passions into something monetizable, to experience, to skills, all that kind of stuff. And then we have a complete strategic process in the book called the Next Level Navigator. And it starts with, where are you headed? And I will tell you, it's the direction is sourced in your passions. And I haven't come across another process that does it this way. And it's based on the idea that your passions are the fuel in the tank I mentioned earlier that are going to propel you through economic headwinds, all kinds of stuff that's happening in the marketplace, competitors, all that kind of stuff. If you've got a passion and your direction is sourced in that passion, holy smokes, you're really hard to stop.
Yeah. And this goes right back to the burnout episode we did not too long ago, where it's that impact level you have, and that's your fuel. Because I can think of a lot of industries where I could be running a $100 million company and I'd be pretty miserable, I imagine.
Yeah, I mean, like you see these CEOs and they get hired from one, billion-dollar company to another billion-dollar company, and they're just hired guns. They know how to run a billion-dollar company, but they don't have any stake in it, except, well, they have, they're going to get a lot of stock options and all that kind of stuff. So they've got Wall Street incentives, but we're not them. We're not running billion-dollar companies. And honestly, those companies that get there, the founders are gone. That's what Rackspace was. Became a billion-dollar company. I was there. But and the guys that started it, man, their passion was transforming the hosting business. And in a way that it was going to be different than anybody else was doing. And it worked. And they had huge success, but the founders are long gone by the time they start shuffling the guys at the top. We aren't. You're still in the company you started. You better have direction sourced in your passions, right, AJ?
Yeah, and that's why we say lead your business, live your passion. It's not let business lead you away from your passions, as a lot of those hired gun CEOs are. It's like, yes, I'm really good at business. I have no passions now because I'm very good at business. We don't want to be business robots. We want to be, fully, self-actualized people, enjoying our lives, enjoying our business, and making an impact on the world that we're living in.
Yeah, yeah. And so kind of pulling all this together a little bit that's why I said, if you use your passion as kind of like your thermometer to see, like, how are you doing? And if you're a lot in your passions, you're probably doing pretty good. And the only way you can get there is you've got to be leading your business. And I should have said this earlier, but you need to start leading your business as a solopreneur, because you've got to have direction. You cannot lead if you don't know where you're going. I realize how profound that sounded. It's like so obvious, right? But so let's say you're at a party and someone says, well, what do you do? You're like, oh, I'm a business leader. You go, oh, really? Where do you go? Where are you headed? Just ask them. Ask entrepreneurs, ask other business owners, where are they headed? I guarantee you, it's pretty hard to get an answer. Most people don't know. And they're doing stuff to just doing stuff. And they could be successful. They could have a very successful company, but they may not know where they're headed. But the key is, if you know where you're headed, man, it's fun. And we want to help you get there. That's our vision. We want every entrepreneur we can meet to have business savvy.
And that next level navigator process in your book, it's a tangible process for people to counter all of the misleading business advice and all the misconceptions about business that an entrepreneur might have from, just digesting American culture. We're trying to kind of counter that. And I think this is something we've talked about, George, and the age of the entrepreneur, and how, we kind of feel like that's coming. And a lot of that comes with direction and people seeing a better world for themselves.
Yeah, what AJ's referring to is, we've been kicking this around. We'll probably develop it more in a podcast. I believe there's a new age of entrepreneurism right around the corner. I think it's like the dawn. You can start to see the rays of the sun coming up in the east. I'm excited about that, and I think it's going to be entrepreneurs doing what they love to do and making good money at it, living the lifestyle that they need or want to live. But it's going to be different. And a lot of this make $63,000 in 40 minutes is going to go away. I don't think we believe that crap.
And it all starts with getting clarity on the direction for your business.
Right.
Where are you headed? Answering that simple question.
Right. And so guys, here's what I want you to do. Just as an application, observe yourself every day and what you're doing. Okay. And are you leading, or are you just managing details? Are you just doing the business stuff? Are you just going through the motions? Or are you actually engaging in what you love to do? And think about that scale. And if you're dropping down below 80, 70%, you need to dial it back up, okay? There's so much more on this, but I'd love for you to watch this podcast right here. I think it's going to give you huge insights. And in the meantime, may you live truly free.